Welcome back, everyone, to our final week of our Made at Home Sunrise Edition, brought to you by Becca Stackhouse with the University of Georgia Extension Office in Crisp, and myself, Amy, with Public Health here at the West Central Health District. You've made it. We're at week 4. I hope that you have enjoyed each of these weeks and that you have learned something each time. I hope your breakfast is going well, that you're having breakfast every morning and maybe trying some new things. So for our final week, first let's recap a little bit. So we've talked about why breakfast is so important. We're fueling our body, giving it energy for the day, and we need to make sure we're getting all the right nutrients to get us started. So we talked about fruits and vegetables and their importance and how we can get them in. Then we talked about grains, proteins, and dairy last week. And this week, we are going to touch on sugar. So you have to watch out for sugars. They sneak their way into a lot. And I know people talk about sugar a lot. So the USDA Dietary Guidelines for Americans says that for added sugars, you should have less than 10% of your daily calories come from added sugar. So to be clear, that doesn't include natural sugars. So a lot of foods will have naturally occurring sugar, and a prime example is most any fruit has natural sugar. So that is not included in this. This is talking about added sugar. A good visual is when you're having that morning cup of coffee or maybe a morning cup of tea, if you're like me, adding a spoonful of sugar. We know that that kind of sugar is unhealthy, but it can sneak into other foods that we have as well. It can find its way into cereals. It can find its way into muffin mixes and pancakes. If you're using if you're not making your own smoothies but buying it elsewhere, they may add sugar to it. So that's just an important thing to be aware of. And you, again, want your added sugars to be less than 10% of your daily calories. So that's really not a lot. If you're eating, the average adult eats around maybe 2,000 calories a day. So your added sugars should really be very low. So how do you know if there are added sugars in the foods that you're eating? Well, we are going to take a look at a nutrition label. So this is where you can find out about those added sugars, as well as a ton of other really good information. So we'll start with that blue arrow at the top, number 1, your serving information. So this gives you the amount of servings in the container of whatever it is that you are looking at, as well as the specific serving size. So make sure you pay attention to this, that you're looking at the serving size that's listed in comparison to how much of this item that you normally eat. So you can't eat, say, 2 cups of this and consider that a serving for yourself. That's going to influence how many calories you're actually getting from this food. So in this example, a serving size is 1 cup. So then we move on to our pink number 2, calories. If you follow that arrow, it shows the amount of calories per serving. So this item has 280 calories, and that's out of 1 cup. But if you eat 2 cups of this, then you're actually going to get 560 calories. So it does involve a little math. But that's just something to be aware of. And then moving on to number 3, the nutrients. This is where, if you look at where that yellow arrow is pointing, you'll see the total sugars. And then underneath it, you'll see includes added sugars. So this is where, when I was talking about before, some foods naturally have sugars that occur, in prime example being fruits. But then other things will have added sugars into them. So this is where you can kind of keep an eye on those and make sure that you're not getting too many added sugars, especially in the morning. that's not going to be a sustaining energy for your body. If your breakfast is full of added sugars, you're going to do okay for maybe a couple hours, and then you're going to crash and burn, and you're going to need a snack, and your body's going to be tired. So added sugars are not a nutrient-filled food. And you can see, so this nutrition label includes obviously many things outside of just sugars. You can look at the fiber, you can look at the fats, the cholesterol, the protein. There at the bottom, you definitely want lots of vitamin D, calcium, iron, potassium. All those kind of vitamins are super important. So the more of those, the better. Now for number 4, over at that purple arrow, you'll see the % daily value. So if you see the quick guide right there, 5% or less is a low amount, and 20% or more is high. So you're looking for, like I said, those vitamins at the bottom of this label. Those are really good. The more you want those to be higher, because those are really good. For your added sugars, you're definitely going to want that percentage value to be low. And your fats, you want those to be low as well, but you definitely want lots of fiber, lots of protein. So these percentage daily values are a good way for you to kind of gauge, not just looking at the grams, but to really know, is this the kind of nutrients that I need, especially for breakfast? That's how you're starting out your day, so you want to have lots of good nutrients packed into your breakfast. And another thing for consideration, these percentage daily values are based on a daily calorie intake of 2,000 calories. So that is average for most adults, but you'll have to adjust these for your own personal diet. So if you're eating more than 2,000 calories or less than 2,000 calories a day, you'll adjust your percentages accordingly. And that concludes all of our items for this week. So I hope that you have enjoyed this series. I've enjoyed teaching it for you guys. And now we're going to head back to the kitchen with Becca for one last delicious breakfast dish.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Sunshine edition of Made at Home. Today we're going to be making some blueberry muffins from frozen blueberries that I actually harvested. So you are going to need whole wheat flour. You're going to need brown sugar, baking powder, soda. Cinnamon is an optional. You need salt, buttermilk, eggs, vegetable oil, and blueberries, of course. Go ahead and preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Get a 12-tin muffin pan ready, and we're going to get started. So in our large bowl, we are going to put our flour first. So remember, we've talked some about the importance of the measuring cups you use. Make sure that for measuring your dry, you use a dry measuring cup, and for measuring your wet, you use a wet. It gives a difference in what the volume is a little. Now that we've got our flour in here, we're going to add our baking soda, powder, cinnamon, and salt. So you need 2 teaspoons of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of soda, cinnamon is about 1/4 teaspoon or a little more, but remember that one's optional. And then salt, you need a half a teaspoon. So we're gonna add in our spices there. Once we've added that in, the next is we are going to set that aside, and we're gonna take our olive oil and our eggs. So you never want to break your eggs directly into the container that you are using, and that being so that in case something's wrong with that egg, you don't mess up your entire batter. So our eggs and our vegetable oil are going to be whisked together with our vanilla, which I forgot to get out. So you're going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla to your blueberry muffins. So this, we're talking about sunrise. This is part of why breakfast is important. And going ahead and making muffins ahead of time it's gonna allow you to go ahead and have breakfast ready to go and walk out the door. So make sure you're tuning in each Wednesday as we're doing breakfast ideas for you. So after we've mixed this, we're going to add that into our bowl. Then we're gonna add in our buttermilk. So you've got a cup of buttermilk. And if you don't happen to have buttermilk in your pantry, that's okay, because you can take the milk in your pantry and add a little bit of vinegar or a little bit of lemon juice, and it'll help give you the buttermilk consistency. So you're gonna mix our muffins together. Lastly, we're gonna add our blueberries in there. Now this recipe calls for us not to defall those blueberries at all. So just dump them right in as a whole blueberry. And we've got our healthy blueberry buttermilk muffins. So we're gonna divide that into our pan right here. So we're gonna evenly divide it into our 12 cups. So I have a scooper that does that for me, but if you don't, you can just use a measuring cup or your spatula, kind of however you and what tools you've got in your kitchen. So we're gonna put it in. So we're gonna put our blueberry muffins into the oven and we'll check back with them in 30 minutes. So our muffins are done. Let's check them and get them out of the oven. So our muffins, if you just stick a fork in it, came out crispy. We'll let them cool and then we'll bag them up, and they are ready for a quick grab and go breakfast. Today we're going to make made-at-home fruit Pop-Tarts. So why would you make Pop-Tarts when you can walk down the aisle and buy them? Well, some of it is in this, we can control the amount of sugar that we're putting in it. So you can enjoy that nice taste and have the taste of a Pop-Tart, but maybe not so much sugar in it. You can customize it. So strawberries are in full swing. You can make a strawberry Pop-Tart. Today we're gonna add cranberries to it. So we'll talk about it, but not necessarily see it. So we're gonna start by we want 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour in a large bowl. And then you're gonna see me using 2 different measuring cups. So remember that you wanna use a dry measuring cup for dry ingredients, and then a wet measuring cup for wet ingredients. So we're gonna get 2.5 cups, and it's leveled off there. So that's 2.5 cups of our all-purpose flour. Next, we're gonna take our butter and our shortening. So we have 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and then we have 3/4 of shortening. So we're going to add that in to our flour mixture here. So you can use a pastry blender, you could use a fork, and then if you've washed your hands really well and you don't mind getting your hands dirty, you can get your hands dirty and get into, you want pea-sized crumbles in your pastry. So we're gonna mix this together, and as we keep combining it, we're gonna add in our salt. So once we've added in that salt, Then we're gonna just keep mixing it here. And then we're gonna slowly add in our 1/2 cup of water. Now remember, slowly add water because you can always add more, but you can't always subtract it. So once we've got our pastry ready, our surface has been cleaned and sanitized, so we're gonna add some flour to our surface, and that's what's gonna let us roll out our pastry. So we're gonna split it in about half. So the easiest way that I have found to cut these is to use a pizza cutter. So with that pizza cutter, you're just gonna cut, you want roughly the same kind of rectangles or size of your Pop-Tart, but it's really gonna be up to you. And then you can cut it to size, cut it to perfect, or you can just leave it and let it show that homemade edged style. And you can put your Pop-Tarts pretty close together because they're not going to spread. Ooh, that one fell apart. So our egg wash is an egg, 2 teaspoons of milk, and then our Pop-Tarts are on the pan, and we're just gonna spread it over our Pop-Tarts. And so you're gonna put it on that bottom one first. And what this does is it'll help give you that golden color, but it'll also help create that seal. You're just gonna start filling that Pop-Tart with 3/4 of the part full, and then you will put your piece on top of it. So you're gonna wanna try to do, we're gonna just use 2 here to create it. You wanna try to do one without a tear if it's possible. That way it kind of seals correctly. We're gonna brush our egg wash over top of our Pop-Tarts so that they set. We're gonna let them sit in the fridge for 20 minutes and then we'll cook them in the oven. So, and just like that, we've got homemade Pop-Tarts. So, enjoy your homemade Pop-Tarts and let us know what you think. Have a great day.